So here we are at Neerwinden, and we are actually at the 940 turn. I forgot to move that. Let's get some dice up there just to remind me of at the beginning. And after a long period of stalemate and maybe hints that something was going to change, you know, like attacks here that were successful, attacks here that looked like they were successful, but most of which ended up just in sort of a stalemate and static situation, even though there were promises of something happening, of a line collapsing or whatever. Nothing too dramatic happened at any of them, but last turn, towards the end, the English cavalry charged Asphalt and got itself in a position where Nassau Cav here did a countercharge and got a very, very lucky result and ended up routing the English Cav, which is running back there, which leaves a huge gap and the possibility of the Cav maybe rolling up that Spanish line. Now, all is not lost. Tilly is moving his Cav into place, which is actually a fair counter to the Nassau Cav. The thing is, the English Cav is actually was superior to the Nassau Cav. But when it comes down to it, yeah, the French have a lot more reserves than the Allies do. So, you know, you can see that here. They just have a hell of a lot more brigades, and they're not all small brigades or anything. Yeah, there's some that are, but yeah. And we'll figure out where we go from here. But it is Friday. It's like 9-something in the morning. And I got a couple hours of sleep as a nap. But that's all that happened in terms of sleep. And I'm really worried that I'm going to sleep way too late as it is. I was trying to get up, you know, to be awake during the day. It ended up causing even more problems. Late Sunday afternoon, got time to get a little bit in. Weird shit happened after dancing this week, but I could have gone for a walk today. There was an offer, and I missed it because I woke up too late. But it also, the email that came to me about it came way later than I expected it to come. But yeah, start of a new turn. Start of a new week, I guess. I'm another year older. And minus some more things. Minus some things. I kept looking for the artillery that used to be over here. I forgot. Yeah, they got destroyed by the British attack. Okay, good enough. Not a lot of impact from what did fire. And by the way, when I was worried about looking for it, part of what I was worried about was what the hell? It doesn't even look like there's nothing that says fired and there's nothing that looks like guns. Shouldn't I be able to recognize? That's how much worry I have about being able to recognize the counters in this game. That even when I'm looking for the guns, I might not be able to see them for whatever reason because of the way the counters are represented. And my mind is a little away from the game. You know, it's been a couple of days. Anyway, we got limited impact from the artillery fire. Got units like, well, the fire that was on this unit from here. I would have much rather hit this, but I'm only allowed to fire over one friendly unit, and that's it. So, the density of units and whatnot, too much for me to arc any fire. And these guys are kind of obscured as well, so it makes sense, I guess. So last turn I tried to do a relief in place of the Dallencourt Brigade. It's probably a mistake. Relief in place only happens on a 1, and there's nothing that gives you a modifier on it. I have a fresh unit that can take the front line with that command. If instead I go with commit, I get the bonus of commit from support to front. I'm not going to get a bonus from there. But, you know, I'm up to like a 3, plus the leader gives me a 4. That's pretty good. But not good enough. And now, of course, because the French have a better leader, the British get to react to everything that they do directly across from them, if they wish. If they wish. That's a big if at this point. One thing to note, other than the relief in place order, it's very hard to get units. Well, that's not easy. But I think it's impossible to get units backwards. Okay? Which means once your reserve line starts disappearing, you're not going to have one anymore. So I have this Spanish cav in reserve. This could actually transfer, I don't know if it's any number of sections or just 2. Either way, I don't really want to. I think I'm going to need them up here. I'm finding with the loss of that British cav, I'm finding my lines are getting sparser and sparser on the Allied side, to the point where it's getting hard to find something. Look, I got these guys, which I can try to commit, but I didn't for some reason. Fair enough. Whatever. I was trying to move, I guess, the Danes out of there because I wanted to replace the Danes with this Ogden cav, or Opdam cav. And I want to have some kind of reserve over on this wing. And then I look at this wing and I'm like, okay, the infantry here I need because I've got a big hole that needs to be filled. But the cavalry there, maybe I could move across, but I can't move that 2 areas because it's in the support line. So things get kind of complex there. And then I look at this line, so there's 1 unit in the front, the Hanoverians here. The support line is these guards, and then I've got this cav that, yeah, I probably want to try to commit, but I'm really running into a hard set of problems in terms of the Allied lines, just too thin at this point for me to keep holding. This is the kind of situation I think that William says, okay, I'm going to withdraw. But there's no rules for managing the withdrawal. You don't have any kind of, you know, fighting withdrawal rules once somebody concedes the game. You also don't have any follow-up rules once there's a rout. Now, I would say other games have that same kind of circumstance, where, oh look, the army is defeated, and now we don't want to play the rest out. We're not interested in that. And I am, unfortunately. I'm always interested in, hey, what is the aftermath of the battle? How did I get away? How hard was it to get away? And in certain battles, like Dresden, Leipzig, in the Napoleonic Wars, that withdrawal is a particularly difficult thing to manage, right? Now here it shouldn't be particularly difficult, but you still have this, hey, I got to disengage these lines, which means what? I have to go into dress ranks, and the enemy might still press. Now, it's much, much harder for the enemy to press in this. The question is, do I keep playing, or I think the Allies keep playing a little bit longer, but I'm getting close to the point where it's pretty clear. Like, I feel like I'm at the point where the Allies have already lost. It's clear that they've lost. And now the only question is, you know, do I fiddle around a little bit more waiting for a miracle, or do I do the reasonable thing that William did, which is concede the battle and cut my losses? I'm going to talk about my fuck up with these first guards here, or second guards? First guards. And how they are actually holding the support line now here, but in a firefight. How did that happen? Well, actually, I think that was actually perfectly plausible. The thing that I couldn't, right? What was it? Yeah, I tried to do a replace in place or something like that with a now missing brigade, which I wouldn't have been allowed to do. And thus, what really would have happened was I just couldn't fill in the gap because I couldn't get these guys out of there. But the situation they're in is something that could happen. So it's not like I'm in a terribly anomalous situation in the sense that, other than the rules of replace in place or whatever, relief in place. But it is possible that something in the support line can end up engaged outside and, you know, have the front engaged as well and all kind of complexity there, and just be stuck in this situation where nobody's actually able to rectify the inconsistencies between what's being shown there and what's happening here. But that's okay. You know, you're stuck with repair what you can, you know, within the situation. Do you have to try to? You know, do I have to try to dress ranks with that unit and pull it out? I would say yes. I would say I would have to try to fix the orders, but the rules are kind of agnostic on that as well. But what it does mean is that, like before, I cannot do anything to get these guys into the position. Now, I can try, and I did try to commit this, and that didn't work. I could have tried to bring these up to the same line, and then actually maybe they could have helped defend this from the support line, which would have been, I don't know. It's a mixed bag, right? Like, because I had more of a chance of bringing these guys to the front line than these guys would be in the support. Now, in the support, they couldn't go beyond this line. But I feel like that's sufficient defense. The Cav could break up any attempts by Theange or whatever making his way across. But I just wanted to look at that a little bit because that's one of those situations that arose that seems like an anomaly because I broke the rules, but it really is something that could happen. Yeah, I mean, it kind of happened over here with the Brits hitting the support line back here. I don't have a hell of a lot changing. I am going to move one of these Cav units up into the support line. I'm a little worried about things maybe breaking along here, as my artillery slowly slogs its way forward to where it can actually do something. A couple of units trying to get from charge to dress ranks. This cadre over here, he can't do anything, so he needs to break his firefights to get anything done at all, and if there's any recovery or whatever that can be done. And I'm not really, you know, I'm not expecting to gain much ground, although actually the Cav might be able, if it could get to the front line, the asphalt Cav might be able to do something here along the edge. And then I went over for the Allies. The Hanoverian Cav managed to get into dress ranks and pull itself together, get rid of disorder, stuff like that. And then immediately my reaction is, well, I should do something with the guys across from them. So I try to do something with these. And I'm like, wait a minute, no, they're in dress ranks. They can't. Again, it's learning it's internalizing, not just knowing, but internalizing the mechanical aspects of the game. The fact that I have to hunt down my individual charge units and everything. That's a major barrier, right? It's not something that's at all obscure in the rules. There's no problem with that. But when you're trying to learn a new system, and it's got ideas like that that are relatively different. I would say the same rules apply in musket and pike, if I recall correctly. Like if something's in a charge, you had to pick the units in charge first, and you had to work your way down in the same sort of way. But it felt different there, maybe because there were less units or something. Here it's really getting in my way. Like I'm really wanting to activate something that I can't for one reason or another, because maybe it's the unit that I'm committing to a different line. Maybe it's something else. It's something I know what I have to do. But here it's like, hey, I want to do the unit right across. I think the unit right across problem probably applied in musket and pikes. I don't remember. Damn it, I just can't accept that I can't hit this flank, man. This is just too unreasonable. It's too damn unreasonable. I'm like looking at the unit and I'm like, okay, I'm just not allowed to voluntarily do a voluntary movement across this line. There's an open flank. I'm in charge orders. What the hell am I going to do? Some kind of little shifting or whatever? Or the existence of this imaginary line basically means that I have to try to dress ranks? I don't fucking know. But I'm not happy about it. I'm not happy about it one bit. It really feels like, at least at the local level. Now, here's the weird thing. You know, like with ethics, there's like competing issues here, and you have to have some sort of preeminence of which rule or morality you want to follow, right? So let's say I leave these guys in charge. I have two pieces of ethical rules that I have to follow within the game. One is, if they're in charge, this guy would have to charge a unit in one of his charge hexes. That means he could pivot one hex and hit that. But he also has an ethical responsibility not to cross that line. And I've been assuming that non-compliance has preeminence, but it doesn't if I'm like in the midst of, let's say I have to advance a hex. If I have to advance a hex, I'm forced into that hex, and I'm not really sure that this is any different. Like if I'm in charge orders, I am forced to make that attack. So I'm trying to look and see. So here's the thing. If you're not compliant with 4.21 through 4.23, and that includes the wing boundary, I would turn into move order. Okay. It still doesn't cover whether or not I must, in fact, become non-compliant if I remain in charge orders by attacking there. Because it's non-compliance when activated. A brigade that's not in compliance is marked either as a reverse, yeah, it has to fix itself. Okay. But you must remain in wing boundary except for 4.24 and 4.25. 4.25 is the missing rule, which maybe covers this kind of stuff, okay? So maybe I have the right to make stuff up. But 4.24 is the transfer. I'm able to become non-compliant to try to fix transfer requirements. I mean, common sense says, screw it, this boundary goes away. It shifts over because that's all that makes any fucking sense. And I kind of want to just do that. It's what I'm going to do in the next battle. So I think I'm gonna just say fuck it to the wing boundary at this point. In which case, I think I want to attack because I can outflank here. The attack actually gets me into compliance. Of course, this thing's becoming a mess. But this unit, which moved from back there, is not allowed to attack. I'm in charge orders, but it was not in my charge range. So I was put into, I don't know what. Like if you're unable to charge, you're thrown into a movement order for that unit, I believe. So I shifted over to create what looked like a better line, but that better line is now kind of a mess too, but okay. All right, we're gonna swap batteries and we go to a British charge unit, but we did this one. And I mean, anytime you attack with a unit, you're risking, like especially a kind of worn out unit like this Theontis, you're kind of risking, it might just rout and you now have a hole in your line, which I find incredibly cool. Brits trigger a situation that I feel like I have to address as well. This unit falls into dress ranks, Ramsey here. Okay, that's good. That's what I want to do. But I have a firefight with this Reeb unit here. These two, I don't care what happens with them. There's nothing I really want to do. The Reeb unit has a casualty on it. I'd like to remove that casualty. I don't care about the firefight. I'd just like to remove the casualty. That's the only reason that I really went into dress ranks. And maybe I didn't really need to, but because I could have launched an attack on this, but that's a crapshoot, man. So whatever, you know, it's going to be a basically a zero table roll, and I view that as absolute crapshoot. It's absolutely balanced what happens, and I don't particularly want to roll on that if I don't have some other advantage. So going into dress ranks made sense to me, but then the question arose, and I've dealt with this before and ignored the question, but it started nagging my head a little too much. Hey, he's under a firefight. Does it really make sense that he'd be able to recover casualties, recover stragglers, get his firing order, you know, in better, not drilled, but in a better cadence? Like in these kind of firefights, what ends up breaking down is sometimes the line fire, what was it, platoon fire procedure, whatever, would kind of break down and things would get more scattered. So I look at the firefight rules, and it locks both units in place, and when either unit is activated, it cannot move or attack. Nothing about recovering. The only way to voluntarily break out is for it to change to dress ranks and move back. I'm in dress ranks, I could do that, but I don't care to. A unit locked in firefight may be attacked by another unit. There's nothing that prevents it from recovering a strength point. I'm not sure that's the intention, but I'm going to play that strictly by the rules. It's what I've been doing, but I just wanted to double check on that, and I wanted to bring up as a point, because honestly it's the only reason I did move into dress ranks. The French have charging units left. I move over to Salis, and again I'm left with some questions that I feel like I can kind of resolve. So I had this unit here, I wanted to keep charging and hit that. A lot of units firefighting, and then a couple units back here. By my interpretation, I could move to resolve my brigade compliance, whatever, and set things up so that I have a unified brigade. These guys aren't going to get to attack. They had to do too many maneuvers, I think, even though this was in their attack zone. I think if you have to make that many maneuvers, you don't get to attack, which is fine. And then I got to do this attack at a +1. I got a firefight out of it, and now we're locked in there. I was unable to get Reynald back. Sure, I fudged the line in one case. I'm not going to fudge it here, even though I do believe that, like, you could make an argument that the line's moved. If anything, I fudged the line in favor more in this direction. So the idea of them also using that same gap becomes more disturbing, which means I think I have to come up with some kind of rules for what generates that front line. To basically prevent this unit from going through there and now this unit from going through there, right? To the extent that, like, those wing boundaries probably need to get set at the beginning of a turn or whatever. So that gaps do happen, right? There would be, you wouldn't be able to plug the gap with a unit from a different wing right away. But that the boundaries would be allowed to shift over time to some extent. Small extent. I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do. But anyway, I actually think that the rules support what I did here. Because I had to attack, and there's nothing that prohibits me from violating the wing boundary in order to do so. And then it got me into compliance anyway. But yeah, Reynald was unable to do shit, basically. Terrible for him. And now I moved to the complicated structure of the guards, Herbonville, and Surbeck, and what they can and can't do. And that better be a Surbeck unit, but it's like heading off God knows where. Oh boy. The guards first, and they're forced into what was kind of a suicidal attack across here, over on the -3 table. Luckily for me, I get a firefight. I wanted to dress ranks, didn't get it. And yeah, I knew if they did attack, I want them going first, because the Herbonville here is kind of in my way. I'm really having a hard time. Like, I've got these breaches, I've got this opening in the line. I want to force my way through it. But the units that are at the front, they're not in great shape. And they're just asking to rout the whole brigade if I keep pushing. Do get the necessary, or the desired, dress ranks over here with Surbeck. Bring my unit into compliance. I had a gap. And recover a lot of casualties, which is really, really important. But now I'm at Herbonville, and I got hard choices here. Herbonville has no units, well, it has one unit that wants to recover. I don't want to be in charge, particularly, because this crappy unit will attack, it could rout my command. That's not necessarily what I want. It's kind of weird, because routing the command may not be the worst thing, because I could bring another brigade into place that's fresher, and that's better able to handle the situation. But I'll have routed units in the way, and it'll be kind of hard to maneuver around. Like, there might be cases, and this is close to it, where I actually don't mind the brigade routing. If I dress ranks, the results will be I get to recover a unit here, and that's it. Otherwise, I hold this line. I've got this breach here. The Liège units might come in. That's problematic. And then if I get movement, I can restack this, which may not be much better. But the problem is going from charge to march is really hard. Going from charge to dress ranks, not so hard at all. So that's what I'm going to go for. And I need a 4. By the way, rolling the die on these cardstock things may not be the best of ideas. You get a lot of little divots from it. I do it because it doesn't make as much noise, but now I'm kind of upset about all the divots. I should roll on the rulebook. That's not going to do it, so I'm going to have to charge. And what that means is I'm going to have to hit this unit, which may not be that terrible. And I realize I fucked up before that. When these guards attacked, they hit something that had first fire. This firefight would not have happened. This unit would have dissolved. Which means these guys run back. We'll disorder this. I thought it was a Hebronville unit. It's not. It's a guards unit there. And I don't believe I'm forced to advance. When I'm defending. Which means the guards have to make a morale check, and then I have to rethink what I'm doing with Hebronville there. The guards succeed in their morale check automatically. And let's rethink Hebronville. But he has to charge, which I believe means he has to still do the same movement, basically. Actually, so here's the thing. I'm in that same position where I have integrity rules versus the charge rules. If I follow the example I had there, I have to do something like this. Boop, boop, okay? And then this unit will have to shift and move into here. This puts them out of integrity, because this is a guards unit here that they're overlapping. I'm not sure that fits. I'm not sure I accept that. But if I was being consistent, that's what I would have to do. And I have to think real hard about... Because what it comes down to, again, is the precedence of which I have to follow. And if I follow the rules specifically, there's nothing in the charge rules that says I cannot, that I am prevented from doing my required charge just because I'm violating integrity of some sort or another. So I think to be consistent, I keep going with this. I'm not thrilled about it. Net effect of that was a couple of essentially pretty reasonable 0-point attacks coming from these two hexes. But the rolls didn't go well for me, and the Hebronville Brigade took a unit route, retreated through its own unit, did some damage, then took a brigade route, and this is what you see from that, is a big hole in the French line showing up there. Now, I've got the capability to try to bring something up into play. That, I think, is all my charge units. Unfortunately, the little charge markers stay on top. They're what I'm searching for, but then I do a second search for the F, and I see it's there, which means we're going to be on the beginning of the movement orders, or maneuver or whatever, march order. And the Allies are going to do that. I need to break. This game is very, very taxing in terms of dealing with each of the factors. You know, every time. So most of the game is pretty easy. The brigade activation stage, the meat of the game, it's kind of painful. It really is, and it brings up lots of these. Hey, what rule takes precedence over which? I wish that whatever it was, this rule 4.25 existed. I don't know what it's even about, but I'm allowing it to do a lot of heavy lifting in terms of making rules up to cover it. Well, as the darkness of night begins to fall, it's like I have this moon because of the light reflecting off the window. I'm letting Raid play itself for a little bit right now. And I'm going to try to take a few activations. It might be up and down. Maybe I'm in the mood for that. I don't know. And I got confused because I was looking along the front for charge. I forgot Nassau's, even though I was talking about it, I forgot Nassau's under charge orders. I've done a couple of of the regular orders. I should have dealt with him now. I would have dealt with him before Tilly was anywhere in range. I don't think he can be, like, he can be under charge orders. I don't think anything happens due to them. And in fact, this is illegal. This also moved, but okay. So I'm going to try to get out of charge, which I don't necessarily have to do, to dress ranks, of course. Just trying to skip back and fix what I screwed up. I did a couple of actions. One of them was Tilly moving into place. He wouldn't have been in place. The French didn't have a lot. They just had Asphalt, whom I moved, which unfortunately kind of conflicts with some of this stuff. But basically, I can't cross this line, although I think I could if I have to charge, if there were close enough enemy units. But like I said, there aren't, so I think I'm going to end up in march anyway, but not actually shifting. So going from march to dress ranks, that's not going to happen, so I stay in charge for whatever that's worth. But I get what amounts to a march order now. Asphalt had units back here, so I would have had to 2, 3, 4, 5, done stuff like that to fix the issue. Oops. Oh, never mind. There was a Nassau unit in the front. I'll try to figure out how to best handle it. So I got something together that I think I could have legitimately done. The net effect, though, is I'm still on a French march turn that I have to take. A fair amount of what we're looking at is little shifts, like this cav line. We had another unit move up from the reserve. I don't know if it was wise to move something from the reserve. I've got enough in the support line, really, and it's easier to move things laterally if they're in the reserve to begin with. But, you know, I formed up a nice second line here that I can justify, even though maybe this is iffy. I don't know. But I feel like, hey, they're closer here, and some kind of calculation that might exist to me says this line is backing that up more than it's backing this up. But yeah, I don't know. And then I moved the actual reserve into a position where it can cover, you know, more of this space if it needs to turn and do something. Likewise, I've got some little shifts over here, and then some passes like this unit here, because honestly, there's a lot that doesn't need to get done. It's not like the Allies have a hell of a lot of units in March Command on the front line. They have a few, but I kind of don't want to do them. You know, I want to see more. But there's nothing of importance I'm going to see, because everything in the front by the French has already, that's in anything other than dress ranks has already gone, which means these are all going to have to go before those dress ranks units get a potential to go from dress ranks here to charge. Not the easiest thing to switch to, but also not absolutely terrible. If that's what they want to do. Pretty much at a stage where both sides are just passing, waiting to get to the dress ranks units. It's kind of this annoying thing. Like, again, they could both agree, we don't have anything to do. The French are going to have to look, see if they have anything they want to do. I'm pretty sure that the Allies do not. Yeah, the French found a quarter, a path they have to create for their routing units. And for the English, actually there was something they wanted to do. They wanted to try to get First Guard into dress ranks. They couldn't, but it brings up something that I did want to bring up, which is, if you can't fix a violation, that's one thing, but you can't exacerbate it. So I had like a stack here. I couldn't move them up here just because this is in violation. Nah, but I can move back here. Again, things are fuzzy because the front, or the sector, or whatever, the wing is the official word for it, is over here. So like, yeah, this is the front, but then it kind of curves. Man, that's a truck. That's not a motorcycle. And I'm pretty sure that's in violation of like various ordinances. It's not so bad right now, but it gives a shock to hell out of me because it starts up almost every night at like 1:30 in the morning or something. And it's just nasty how loud it is. But now that it's moved on, and I mean, you know, it's not that big a deal. I wouldn't call cops on them or anything. But it's just really, like, I'm awake when it starts every night. But it's just so fucking loud. I'm surprised that it doesn't wake people up and annoy them. Although, again, you know, a motorcycle puts out just as much noise. So. And, you know, which is part of it. It's like, why is it legal, you know, for a motorcycle to not have any kind of reasonable muffling? Oh, there it goes. It hasn't finished yet. Why is it legal for a motorcycle to not have mufflers of a certain level, but cars all have to, and trucks and whatnot? Obviously not 18-wheelers and the like, but we don't get many of them on my street. Tried. Okay. So anyway, we're at that point where I'm flipping, you know, where I have the option of, if I was playing the game very rigorously, everybody would have to flip all their units. But I think the two players have come to an agreement they don't have anything remaining that they want to activate particularly. And so now we go to the dress ranks. This creates some possible anomalies, but I'm not too worried about it. Just in terms of like, oh, can I do that with this unit? You know, type of thing. Did I forget a unit? Yeah, I forgot a lot of units, and it's on purpose. Who did? So the French would automatically have had to do the last activation, which means the English are going to, or the Allies are going to have to do the first dress ranks. Turns out they only had one unit, this one, that was under dress ranks before the turn. Yeah, it looks like they have more, but they don't. One confusion with these being on top, it's a little harder to discern which side they belong to, but it's a little easier for me in general to figure out what's gone and what hasn't. So I've got a few French to do. So I have an issue, and I think I flipped one of these. I don't know. The French actually so this unit, I wanted to keep it in dress ranks, but then I'm only allowed to move this one space. I wanted to move this up here, but I don't think I can do that. I think I have to get my units in position. So I'm actually, well, I wanted this to be there. Shit. Like, I feel like the entire line has to move into position to get close to that. Which means this unit was already disordered. Means this unit could move to there. This unit can move to there, and then this thing can kind of move there. Actually, they don't turn and all that. Which means this cannot. Fuck. We were like this, more or less. I think we were like this. No, we were like this. So this unit actually can't move laterally, which means I can turn like this. Like, if I'm moving here, I'm making the situation sort of worse, but not really. But basically, under dress ranks, I can't do anything that allows me to resolve the whole issue. And that means I can recover this unit, I guess. I don't know. Again, like, trying to figure out the you know, should I be forced to try to get into March because of that? Well, actually, Actually, this unit wasn't connected. It actually is in march automatically. So I can do exactly what I want it to do, which was this and this. Not perfect, but I stay in dress ranks. This guy, because he wasn't connected, falls into march orders on his own. So actually, I am allowed to fix the issue. Great, perfect. And of those remaining units, most of them didn't do anything. Dalencourt here, I think I tried to get him into march to try to rearrange my order a little bit, but he managed to fix things somehow. I don't know if this was legal. Basically, I backed this up, which I don't know if I'm allowed to do. I wouldn't be allowed to retreat under those circumstances, but I think I'm allowed to march backwards without restacking. I can't think of anything that prevents me to, and I really am tired of looking through the rules to try to figure out how these things precisely work. I could see it either order, but I should be able to restack if I can do that. So you know what? I think I'm going to just leave him there and say, fuck it, I can't do that. Because I don't think I should be. I don't think I should be allowed to if I can't rearrange their order, which I can't in dress ranks. I could have moved the whole stack back. Okay, but then Rocheguyon here, and no idea how to pronounce that, went into charge, and that was kind of key. I made attacks up here, but then the key one was here, where I got a success and I destroyed a unit of Nassau. First fire, all the way up on the +3 table, which is, or column, which is amazing. I've marched outside of my wing. That's allowed. I must advance, and I'll have to fix that later. But I've gained some ground. I've freed Surbeck up from a firefight. It's all good. This didn't fire because somebody was on top of it, just as a reminder. And I think that's going to put me to the routed unit and the cleanup. Go check on raid for a little bit. And I'll be back up to finish the turn. Quite simply, that puts us at 10 a.m. Nothing happens fast in this game, okay? These 20-minute turns, you might see something like a big breakthrough appearing to happen. But look, not much happened in terms of like some sort of exploitation of that breakthrough. It's too hard to get the units into commands and whatnot. And again, when I say something like it's too hard, I'm not criticizing the game. I actually think that's appropriate. I think it's really great that the battlefield moves more slowly, and it's so perceptible, the differences that the battlefield shows from, say, a Napoleonic battlefield where, a core functionality, which is more like the army sizes in musket and pike era, and therefore more maneuverable and whatever, is able to do something impressive all as one. But you don't have that here. Here instead, you have individual units very slowly trying to, conform with the linear combat situation, right? Where, yeah, am I supposed to go up there? What's going on? Isn't asphalt covering that? And maybe even though it's clear in front of him that there's an opening, he's not really taking it. And I like that. Elsewhere, we have a lot of static situations still remaining. Ribe here, unwilling to come out of dress ranks, just sitting there in firefights, and so is the unit across from him. Both are happy to pin the other side down. Here, not so happy. Both sides are trying to get out of this situation, but neither one's capable of doing it. Over on this flank, well, we're outnumbered with the French are outnumbered here, but they're trying to get themselves in a position where maybe they get a fair fight in there. They've got more brigades they can throw in case they break or whatever, if they manage to do some significant damage to, what are these, Hanoverians? Yeah. And, you know, this is really an attrition battle for the French. That's their way of winning this, right? Is to attrit the enemy at a faster rate, or at an equivalent rate. They can easily do that. Here in the center, yeah, you know, we had what looked like an opening. It's beginning to dissolve. It doesn't look so solid anymore. But now we got another opening coming up over here. So, you know, interesting stuff keeps happening. It's a fairly long battle to play out so far, but not a lot of time has passed. There's a lot to do each turn. Anyway, I'll send this one up, and we'll see what the next turn brings.